We are live.
Go, everyone's muted. Hey, everybody.
Hey, hey.
Hope everyone. Okay, there we go. As you come on, please do drop into the chat. As always, say hi and where you're coming in from. Obviously, we are truly, truly grateful that you guys are here spending some time with us this week. So again, as you jump on, please do say hi. Hey, Bill, coming from Tampa, Delaware, KC. So it's great to see everybody on here. Obviously, this was promoted as a 3-day workshop, but just so everyone knows, this is actually a 4-day workshop. We are going to be doing a bonus 60-minute Q&A live session on Thursday. It's going to be the same Zoom link. It's from 1 to 2 p.m. EDT. So obviously, we're going to be training today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And then obviously Thursday, it is any and all questions that you have. So people can pre-submit questions, which will be answered obviously first. And then whatever time is left at the end, we will open up the room. And it was funny. We did a workshop last month for one of our LinkedIn programs. And I think there were 65 pre-submitted questions. I was able to get through all of them, and there was still even a little bit of time for people to actually ask questions at the end. So what we're going to be obviously going over this week is creating content for social media and our simple structure and our flow with that. Now, for people that have not yet, we had close to 300 people register for this week's workshop. And what I wanted to drop into the chat really quickly, if anyone is not yet a part of the Facebook group, it is really imperative. If you're on Facebook, we really want you to join. I just dropped the link in the chat. Reason being, the replays will be available there to watch back. There's going to be important announcements. Obviously, there's homework prizes and winners that are going to be announced, obviously, with that Facebook group. So there are still a number of people. If you're not on Facebook, not a big deal. Don't create an account just to join our private Facebook group. If you are on Facebook, please do click the link that we just dropped into the chat. Join that group. It'll ask you a couple of questions. We'll let you in. That way you can access all of that. And as I just mentioned, there are some homework prizes that are going to be given out. There's going to be 2 homework winners announced the end of each session. So obviously not today since we didn't give you the homework yet. So tomorrow there's going to be 2 homework winners. There's going to be 2 homework winners on Wednesday and then 2 announced on Thursday as well. And these are people that obviously do the accountability assignment and follow obviously the instructions. There is going to be a homework thread pinned to the top of the private Facebook group that you have joined. And again, it's going to say day 1, Nancy's homework thread. Here's your assignment. Drop your homework below in the comments. You must have that done 30 minutes prior to the next day's training. So it has to be done by 12:30 p.m. EDT each day. That way you'll be qualified to be one of the 2 winners for that. So if everybody is clear on all of that so far, please just type a Y or a yes in the chat. Awesome. So again, for those that are brand new to our trainings, i.e. could be this one or any of them, just type the word new in the chat if this is the first time that you are actually training with myself and Nancy. Awesome. A lot of new people. And I promise you, Nancy does talk, but I usually, I'm kind of like the hype man. I'm the Flavor Flav of the husband and wife team. So I get everyone amped up and ready to go. And then obviously Nancy's going to drop some knowledge for you guys very, very soon. So the idea of this is to really help all of you, not just streamline your content creation process, but really to help position you guys within the zones of genius that you have. So I just want to take a quick temperature of the room, and then I'm going to pass it off to Nancy. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you got it all on lockdown when it comes to creating, scheduling, and posting content. 1 being, I'm not sure what I should say. I'm not consistent. I know I need to be more consistent. Where would you guys rate yourselves on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1, 1, 1, 4, 5, 3, 2, awesome. So not awesome in the sense of like, we're happy that you're not consistent, but what we are excited about is the fact that by the end of this week's training, we want everybody at an 8, a 9, or a 10. We want you having this whole thing on lockdown because, again, we want to make sure that each and every one of you is getting the visibility that you deserve for social media. You're having the expertise pushed out there. People know, like, and trust you, which in turn is going to grow each and every one of your businesses. So one last time, I am going to drop the link to the Facebook group. This is where a lot of extra information is going to be shared. And there is going to be 2 places to watch the replays, the private Facebook group and the replay link. There's going to be a replay page that's going to be emailed out to you guys. And on that note, just remember, as in previous workshops, you guys are going to be getting 4 emails every day from us. Yes, 4. You're going to be getting a morning replay email, a 1-hour warning before the day 2 or day 3, day 4 starts, a 15-minute warning, and a we are live and jump on in. So do not unsubscribe or report as spam, and because you will miss any and all information that we push out. So just make sure that you do stay up to date. Make sure that you push those to your regular inbox so you are all up to date with everything that we are putting out there. Nancy, anything else to cover in regard to that, or you wanted to talk about?
I think you pretty much covered it all. So thank you for going over all the basics. But I just have to give you guys kind of like a little disclaimer at the beginning of this. This training, so we've taught simple content creation so many times. However, this is almost brand new. I redid the entire training. And so I also wanted to welcome, we have our copywriter, Charlize, on here as well. So Charlize, yep, she just waved. So she actually helps support our, our mastermind calls. She helps support us, in our business. And then she also helps host the content co-working calls that we do with our own social media scheduling platform. So thank you, Charlize, for being on here today. But you're really going to see something new today, because the theme of this content creation workshop is I really wanted to dial in the fact that it's so important right now to create authentic, right, personalized, genuine, good, right, value-added content, especially with all of the rise in AI and a lot of people pumping out very generic kind of cookie cutter posting and things like that. So get ready, right? You might learn a couple things if you have attended workshops before. This is going to be a little different. And then we also decided to give you guys, so I apologize for the workbook. The workbook actually got sent out this morning, but the reason why it took a little bit longer to create is I actually wanted to add some bonus material in there so that you guys actually could hit the ground running and know exactly what types of content to post and certain topics you can talk about. So in the workbook, in the very back, you'll find a whole bonus section of really cool content that you can create for your business. And it's got a lot of questions and prompts in there. So hang tight. We got you covered. We're definitely wanting to make this a really, really good workshop. So you guys are really tuning into a good one. So that's the little disclaimer.
And final thing before we dive in, the replays will be available for all of you guys to watch back until Sunday night at 9 p.m. EDT. So you do have all week to watch all of these back. But they do come down at 9 p.m. EDT this Sunday, which is July 30th. So just wanted to make sure everybody knows that. So just drop a Y or a yes if you guys are ready to dive in to day number 1 of the now 4-day simple content creation workshop. So I see some yeses. Awesome. So at this time, I am going to turn it over to my lovely wife so she can share her screen. As always, we just want to hear from you guys to make sure that you can see our screens clearly. We're going to be kind of going back and forth, and we're going to keep this very streamlined. At the end of today's day one, there's going to be an accountability assignment that Nancy and I are going to give you. And again, it's going to be pinned to the top of the private Facebook group. So you can obviously submit your homework there, or you can always email us, which we will give you that email address at the end of today's training as well. Nance?
Awesome. All right. So we're going to dive into some slides. But before we do that, if you guys can just make sure, stay on mute, right? Like Scott said, we actually are saving a whole day dedicated for Q&A. So, if you have a question or you're like, oh my gosh, I want to know, you can type it in the chat. We don't know if we'll be able to get to it. If it's kind of like relevant to what we're going through, we'll obviously kind of probably cover it. But please hold any and all Q&A questions, things like that for day 4, which will be on Thursday at 1. And again, we're going to go through a lot of stuff, right? So we're cramming a lot into each day. So just hang tight, because even a lot of you guys might have questions that we'll probably cover or answer during the workshop. All right, so I'm going to do a little share screen now, and I'm going to hit the present button. If you guys can just give me a Y or a yes in the chat, if you guys can see my screen, all right, if everyone is with me. Awesome. Okay, perfect. So this kicks off, like I said, our first ever, right, version of this simple content creation workshop. I definitely want to make this, guys, a workshop that you guys walk away with actionable stuff. Okay. These aren't the fluffy workshops where we just cover a couple basics and then we're like, all right, good luck with everything. We actually want you to walk away with at least a month's worth of content planned. Okay. But out of, we understand that everyone is kind of at a different place with this. So we kept the homework and we kept a lot of the action items very, very simple. Okay. So I promise, if you guys just take action and you do the basics of the homework, you guys are going to leave this workshop with at least, number one, a clear framework to be able to create and post content each week, and then also have content topics that you can talk about for the entire month of August, right? So it's going to be a really good workshop. It's timely, right? Because we've got August right around the bend. Can't believe it, right? We're already definitely already into Q3 at the moment, but we're going to have good stuff here. Now, as we dive in today, one thing that I have updated and added is some AI. Okay. Now, when we talk about AI, I'm going to be adding prompts kind of throughout the workshop. So you'll see this little guy, this little robot boy. You don't need to be using AI. Okay. So that's my disclaimer, but we wanted to make sure to incorporate it and give you some tips on ways that you can use it. So please, throughout this training, just, respect the opinions and views of others. If you're not using AI and you're like not really for it, please respect others who, are going to be using AI. So we're entering a judgment-free zone. And as we kind of show you how to use AI a little bit more, we always say, right, AI is not going to be what's creating all of your content, right? It's going to give you ideas. You're going to be able to use it to brainstorm, and it's going to be able to streamline some things and make it more productive. Okay. So we're going to kick it off with the basics. Okay. Why do I need to create consistent content for my audience? Okay. It's not like we're doing this just because everyone else is doing it. Okay. There's a lot of reasons why we need to create content for our audience. Well, a few of them are, you need to create consistent content for your audience because, number one, it's a great way to build relationships. Okay. And just talking about that, right? I was actually just checking out a post this morning that I really, really, really resonated with. Okay. It was a story about a guy. Okay. And he built this entire business. I mean, he's a multi-million-dollar, business owner and everything. And he was talking about his journey and how he came from a really small town. I saw his post and it actually got me fired up. I'm like, me too. I totally relate. And it made me feel like I knew him. So your content can absolutely, right, build relationships and build know, like, and trust. And if we know one thing, right, from marketing and sales and everything, building relationships with your audience is a great way to get them closer to actually wanting to work with you. The next thing is sharing your expertise, right? No one's going to know, what you do or what you're good at unless you share it. Right? We don't want you to be the best kept secret. We want you to put yourself out there, and every single one of you guys on here, whether you know it or not, you're actually really, really good at something, right? And if it's focusing on your business, it's what you know. So sharing that expertise and providing value is huge. The next thing it's going to do is increase your visibility. Okay. And I know a lot of us are like, well, who's going to even see my stuff or whatever? Not only when people search for you, and I'm just using LinkedIn as an example, but if I were to go hire a coach or a consultant or even a local business, what am I going to do? I'm probably going to Google them, right? Before I do that. A lot of times your social media, and I use LinkedIn as an example because LinkedIn is connected to SEO, right? So when people search things, if you have made a post on LinkedIn, like an article or a newsletter, if you have your profile on LinkedIn that's optimized, you're going to pop up. And of course, we want to put your best foot forward. We want to put value added content out there. So it absolutely increases your visibility. It also helps to attract your potential customers. It increases your brand awareness. It helps you stay top of mind, right? So all these things are beneficial. And what I want to remind you guys is, for the most part, and we're talking organic here, it's free, right? So if we rewinded years and years ago, we wouldn't be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to put ourselves out in such a way and reach so many people. We used to have to pay millions of dollars to get, a TV commercial to be in front of people, but now we can put ourselves out online for free. Okay. Now, this quote I love, and it's actually from Andy Crestodina. Scott always laughs. I always get his name. I pronounce it wrong, but he's actually a really great marketer. And I want you guys, if you haven't been exposed to his content yet, I want you to totally check him out. He's been in the game for a really long time. And Andy Crestodina, he is the owner of Orbit Media Studios. And one of the quotes he says is, whether we're looking for jet engines or consulting services, a wedding DJ or a local florist, we are all more than likely than ever to do research online before making a decision. Every day we seek advice from experts. Okay. So people are looking online, right? They're going to look on your social media. They're going to check and see what you've been posting. They want to see if you're, credible. They want to see what you got going on. The other statistic that I thought was really great was 96% of companies, right? And this is current, recognize that they need to focus their efforts on having a presence on social media. Okay.
Really quickly, I just wanted to chime in. Type in the chat box why or yes if you feel that you and your business needs a greater presence on social media. You may be a little bit on social media, but you're realizing now more than ever you need a greater visibility and presence on there. Awesome. And again, this is just us driving home that fact that whether you're a solopreneur, you're a small business, you're a large organization, everyone has the same need, desire, and want, and that is to be more visible on social media.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, you guys are being so transparent and honest, because the other fact is every single person starts from zero. Okay. I can't tell you, it was funny. Years ago when I first started a Facebook group, it made me so nervous. Like I feel so I'm such a baby and I'm starting out and I've got this little Facebook group and, fast forward, now I've got hundreds of people. And even in our one group, we've got like thousands of people, but it all starts from somewhere. Okay. So even if you're just getting in, or maybe you have a very small presence on social media, I want to make sure you give yourself the grace, right? Every single person starts from zero. Okay. Every single person. Now, the goal, and like I mentioned this before, is I don't want you guys just putting boring, generic content out there. Okay. And I want to share this with you as well, because I'm really big about transparency, right? This is a big core value of mine. And if you guys know Scott and I, right, we're very big about integrity, transparency, giving value. I am about to do a major overhaul on my own content. Right. I kind of sat back in the seat. I didn't do much with my own content. I was kind of like repurposing some things, but in the entire month of August, I'm totally following exactly what I'm teaching you guys. It's all about delivering value. Okay. It's about making sure that our content attracts our ideal clients, that we interact with our ideal clients. There's so much I want to say right now with what's going on with the state of social media and the world and AI and everything. I can't wait to let that out of the box, right? But we can be planful around this. We can, use our content to connect, to teach, to help people. Okay. We don't want to just post stuff to post it. And now, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. The other quick thing that I want to chime in with is we have to remember that, we want posting content to be fun for you. where it's not stressful, it's not a chore. You actually look forward to showing up on social media. And I can't tell you, I'm glad Nancy kind of is going to be revising some of the things that she's doing. And again, she's being very open and transparent. But, I get excited each and every day when I get to show up on social media, because at the end of the day, each and every one of you is all striving towards the same thing. And we're all striving to be a person of value. That's our big goal, no matter what it is that we're doing. We want to show up authentically and genuinely on social media to be a person of value, where people read our content, they watch our videos, they read our newsletters, whatever it is. And they're like, man, this person is such a high valued individual. I want to continue to engage and see their stuff over and over again. And that's really where you want to place yourself.
Yep, absolutely. And, now more than ever, right? People need that amazing value added quality content. Okay. So I really don't, and throughout this training, I really want you to remember that, each of us, right? I just wrote my first book this past year, How to Build Your Personal Brand on Social Media, right? All of us have a personal brand. It's your reputation, it's basically what you're putting out there. So you don't need to be generic. You don't need to be cookie cutter. You don't need to be perfect, but we want to make sure that we are actually creating content that helps people. Now, in the great scheme of things, and for the whole purpose of keeping things very simple, right? I do want to remind you guys, right? There's all different types of contents you can create, all different channels of content that you can create. But for the purpose of this training and to keep it simple, we're going to focus on just regular posting. Okay. We're not talking about video this one. We're not talking about podcasting. We're not talking about blog writing or anything like that. We want to keep it very basic for you guys. Okay. Very, very simple, even just posting 3 days a week. Okay. So when we set intentions for this workshop, we really just want to give you a simple content creation framework to create quality and authentic content. All right. So now we're ready to dive in to the meat and potatoes of day one. So today's focus is all about the content that you should be creating for your ideal audience. So please, guys, don't feel like you have to have your workbook printed out or anything like that. Use it as a reference. But I really even told Scott, I'm like, just grab a pen and paper. Okay. If you guys just have a blank piece of paper, I want you guys to keep this so simple. Okay. There's nothing in the workbook, that's like earth shattering, other than obviously the bonus questions that I added in there for you guys to do. But other than that, I just want you to grab a pencil and paper, or a pen and paper. Okay. So we're going to start at the very top of it all. Okay. And Linda's got her pen and paper. Awesome. Right. Just pen and paper. I want you guys to start at the very top. Okay. And I want you to think about, what is your zone of genius? And when I say this, I don't want to overcomplicate things. I don't want you to think, oh, well, it's got to be a million different things. I just want you to think of one thing that you want to be known for, or that you want to make sure that you're talking about. Okay. It could be your industry. It could be the type of business that you're in, right? It could be the special focus or the niche, right? Scott?
I have a question. Yes, Nancy.
Yes,
anyway,
yes.
So we're in two different rooms right now. That's why I have to kind of I don't want to interrupt her. But
That's okay.
So type in the comments in plugging into what Nancy just said, your zone of genius. So if you could type in the chat, what would you want to be known for? And using myself and Nancy as an example, like, I want to be known as the go-to person for LinkedIn marketing branding. Nancy wants to be the go-to expert on helping people build their personal brand on social media. If someone was to ask you, what do you want to be known for? Joanne, travel expert. Awesome. Group health insurance customization. Wonderful. So type in the chat, what are those? Shipping and logistics. Great. So these are the things, making sure that you know what you want to be known for. So again, and it should be very simple, very clear, smart sensor, startup entrepreneurs, journalist planning, holistic self-care, the wine lady, the go-to person for shattering stigma, the jewelry lady. Awesome. So understanding what you want to be known for, that's the first key. If you know what you want to be known for, Now we just have to work with the end in mind, right? You know what you want to be known for. So how do we take that zone of genius and then start creating educational, informational, and engaging content around it? And that's what Nancy's going to teach you.
Absolutely. And I always go back to this because it doesn't matter, guys. If you're a local service business, you can still pick one thing, right? If you are a service business or a consultant or a coach, it can still be one main focus. And, I use in a lot of my other trainings that I do, I kind of use it in the way of, what market are you in? Like if you were to look, let's say you were starting a podcast and you had to pick what category is it under? Is it art? Is it business? Is it focused on health and wellness? What is it that you really focus on? Because this is just right, the very top of the umbrella that we're going to be breaking down today. So we're just talking about your zone of genius. All right. And then we're going to, of course, break that down a little bit more. Now, the main point of this whole zone of genius is to make sure that we're clear and consistent in what we're going to be talking about and what we're going to be creating content around for social media. Okay. We got to get focused here first. If you are not sure what your zone of genius is and how it relates to your business, please take the time. Okay. Let this be like also part of your homework. Please take the time to get specific. And if you find yourself, talking through maybe a paragraph long thing or whatever, I want you to reel it in, right? Keep backing it up and let's really hone in on what that one thing is going to be. And if you're really stuck, again, it's 1 to 2 things. Like for me, I could be like personal branding and maybe content creation, right? Maybe those are my 2 main zones of genius, my main focuses. Okay. Now, why is it so important? Of course, right? We want to make sure that it's something that really helps tell our ideal client what they need to know about us, our business, and our offering, right? It should all be connected. So, for example, if I'm a plumber, it's going to be plumbing. Okay. Yes, we can break it down into other things within plumbing. Awesome. I know one of our clients, she actually works with, people who have elderly parents, and she helps them, take care of them within their home. She could just focus right on, end of life care or, care of aging parents. And then of course we can break that down deeper, but we're just starting at the very, very top for this. Okay. And if you're stuck, right, I always give people like a little, here's a little, a hack. If you're stuck, think about 1 to 2 topics you'd like to be known for. Number 1, right? Number 2, think about a topic you could discuss for the next 3 to 5 years and not be bored. Okay. I know, Jeff is on here. He's a gemologist, right? He's probably going to talk about something related to gemology or, all things around, gemologist stuff, right? Jewelry. My sister is actually a jeweler. So anyway, there's tons of things that you can talk about. You're excited to keep up to date with the trends of this topic, right? I get so fired up about learning about all the new things when it comes to online and building your personal brand and creating content. It gets me excited. So think about, right, in your zone of genius, what things are you excited to learn more about? And then also, if you were in early stages, it's something that you can see yourself building offers around. Okay. I know Carol shared earlier about focusing really on anxiety. If that is the main zone of genius, there are so many different tools and techniques and services that you can help right around that topic. But I really want you guys to hone in again on that zone of genius that you're really going to commit to. So when we look at it, right, the hierarchy of how we're going to break this down is it all starts right at the very top with that zone of genius. Okay, what it is that you want to be known for, what is it, the industry that you're in. And then we're going to break it down into content buckets, which content buckets are my favorite, right? Because it gives us a way to really kind of, in a fun way, break out the content that we're going to be creating. What does the reader need to know to actually learn a little bit more about that category? Okay, so if we think about Scott with LinkedIn, what are some things under that main topic, right, that you can talk about?
So what I can do is my zone of genius obviously is LinkedIn. And then my content buckets could be LinkedIn content, LinkedIn lead gen, LinkedIn network growth. So I've taken that overarching zone of genius And then I've broken it down into 3 different content buckets, which means now I can create specific posts that are strictly around building your network on LinkedIn, creating content for LinkedIn, and messaging people on LinkedIn. So if that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. So when you start to break things down this way, in the sense of you have your overarching zone of genius, then you have your content buckets. Now that you're visibly staring at your content buckets right in the face, you could say, okay, this is easy. I have these content buckets. Now I just need to create a post that correlates to that specific bucket.
Yep, absolutely. And, again, we're going to talk in just a few minutes on how you can actually use AI to help you with this. But what I want to put out there is, guys, it's not an exact science, right? It's kind of like an art. And the cool thing is we get to be flexible, and we're not committed forever with these content buckets. I want you to be committed with your zone of genius, right? I don't want you bouncing all over the place with that, but we can totally change around our content buckets and how we're sharing information on that topic, right? So the next thing, right? And again, we're going to break this down. I'm going to take you guys on a ride through this, but after content buckets are the actual content posts that we're going to create, right? The individual pieces of content under those topics. Now, the content bucket, just to kind of hone in on that, is, and I want you to think about this, right? When it comes to your main zone of genius, what are some fun ways to introduce the topic? What are some ways that you can showcase your expertise? What are some ways that you can really, obviously show your social proof? 3 to 5 subtopics, right? Which, are your content buckets. What does the reader need to know to become an expert or be proficient in this category? So for example, I know Jim shared that he wanted to focus on local SEO. What 3 to 5 things does a reader need to know to learn more or, be aware of what local SEO can do? It could be the different features, the different things that go into SEO. So that's the kind of next part of it. So I wanted to give you some examples, right? Some breakdown examples of what this actually looks like, in play. And I put down at the bottom, so a simple prompt that you can use, okay, is give me 1 to 2 content categories, content that I will be in the expert or that I will be the expert in for insert whatever it is that you do. That's if you're stuck on the zones of genius. But what I actually typed in the chat and in my prompt over here is, I said, please give me, and sorry, Jeff, you're the first one on my video, so I keep referencing to you. So Jeff, obviously being a gemologist, I typed in, I said, please give me 3 to 5 content subtopics I can talk about under the topic of gemology. And so it came up with a few different ideas. One is all about gemstone formation and properties. One is famous gemstones and their stories. One is gemstone mining and ethical considerations, identifying and evaluating gemstones, rare and unusual, so on and so forth, right? So there's lots of cool ways that you can break out, some of those things to build awareness with people and provide value and give that education. Okay. So we're going to show you a couple different examples here. So let's say you're a local bookstore, okay, and this is a local business. And you're a local business store that picks, right, 1 to 2 zones of genius. So this local bookstore obviously wants to be, this zone of genius wants to be the expert in books, okay? But also because they're local, they want to be really tied into the community, right? So they want to make sure that all of their content is really honed in and focused around books and community. So what that looks like into play is other little content buckets underneath, right? So under books, under the main topic of books, they could do book recommendations or staff picks, themed book lists, a bookstore tour, author interviews. And then over on the other side, right, there could be community focus. So it could be different community events that are coming around, local business spotlights, right? Shouting other local businesses out and obviously hoping that they return the favor as well. Other examples are in here, and I actually just want to show you breaking that down is after breaking down the actual, sorry, I think this skipped a little bit. Okay, yeah. All right. So if I were to actually take one of those, the content buckets here, which if the topic is books and our content bucket is book recommendations, here's an example of a post I could do. Okay, this is like book of the month. This is our favorite book of the month. Are you ready to set goals? Da, 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 whatever. So here's an example of what a post would look like for that. Now, this is an example of a birth worker business. Okay, so let's say they want to focus on pregnancy and birth practices. So a couple of content buckets underneath those could be post prenatal and postpartum wellness, myth busting facts, birth education, client birth stories and testimonials, and a simple post, right? A content topic under that could be 10 foods to eat during your first trimester. Right? We're just taking different categories and we're literally pumping out individual topics underneath that.
So if this is making sense for you guys as far as that hierarchy where you have the zone of genius and then the content buckets underneath it, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat if this is starting to make sense. Awesome. Good. Because again, we want to make this, why we call this the Simple Content Creation Workshop, is we want to make this as simple and as easy for all of you as possible.
Yep. And I promise you, so we're going to take our, you guys are going to get homework today and we're going to take it on a little journey. So you guys will see what this looks like, real time within your business as well. So let's say I'm a marketing strategist and my zone of genius is online marketing. Okay. Well, a couple buckets underneath that are marketing tips and best practices, industry trends, marketing tools. Maybe I want to share case studies or success stories. Now, a sample post under that could be the more top 5 marketing tips of the week and, so on and so forth. The next, so I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker, but, one could be if you're a fashion influencer, some different ways that you can break that down could be, style tips, different outfits, fashion and lifestyle recommendations, fashion hacks, so on and so forth. Okay. Financial advisor. Right? As a financial advisor, your main focus, okay, your main zone of genius, right, is probably financial. So financial planning tips is a great content bucket. Investment insights, market updates, retirement planning, personal finance FAQs, all things that you can talk about under that main topic. Real estate, I love real estate. And again, it's a very fun thing to do as a local business. And in the area. So being an expert in real estate, you can focus on a lot of different things, local business spotlights, virtual home listings, home maintenance and improvements, tips for buying a home, so on and so forth. Health and wellness. Let's say you're a health and wellness coach and you want to focus really on overall healthy lifestyle. Okay, so some different content bucket ideas there are healthy lifestyle tips, recipe ideas, fitness and exercise inspiration, mindfulness, mental well-being. So I use Scott as an example. Let's say Scott really wanted to focus on LinkedIn, as his zone of genius, but I know that Scott also often talks about networking. He's all about making authentic connections. So some different examples under that could be, LinkedIn, keeping people motivated, networking and building connections, and LinkedIn platform updates and features. BYOB agency, just giving an example again, just for some of the content that I create. So again, personal branding, content creation. So I talk about content repurposing, creation, social media industry updates, and personal branding. All right. So now that you guys kind of have a general idea, right? We've got our zone of genius, we've got our content buckets, right? The things that we can kind of break out and talk about. Obviously, I'm going to challenge you guys to kind of do that for yourself. But now I want to get into switching the hat now. Okay, we have our content buckets. We've got our zone of genius. How can we actually come up with individual content topic ideas?
Now, just really quickly before we move on, what I want you guys to type in the chat now, everything that you guys did an amazing job of clarifying what your zone of genius is. Okay. Everyone, if you could right now, type in a content bucket within your zone of genius. So thinking about your zone of genius, using myself and Nancy as an example, type into the chat, what would be one of your content buckets that you can create content for? So think about your zone of genius, spiritual community. Awesome. What are some others? Fitness, energy levels, new builds, taxes, shame and guilt, Awesome. Travel, healthy community, industry knowledge, jewelry hacks, setting intentions, financial tips. Beautiful. So now you guys are starting, and here's the great thing. How Nancy has kind of said, you only need a few different content buckets. Some people say, oh, you need 10, 12, 14. No, the more streamlined and simplified you keep the content bucket arena, the simpler it's going to be for you to create content. So if you have 2, 3, 4 content buckets, great. Now you have 2, 3, or 4 different types of content that you can post. So again, keeping it very simple. Obviously, you have that zone of genius. And then obviously underneath that, you have your content buckets.
Yep. And the one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind that you can change, right? Let's say you have maybe like 3 content buckets that you typically talk about. I'm just going to use myself as an example. So let's say I talk about content creation, social media updates, and, one other thing. Well, let's say I'm launching I'm rolling out a new course or something like that. I can actually hone in and for the entire month, really talk mainly about one specific content bucket. Or maybe if I'm launching something that's kind of different than I usually do, I can make sure that I'm talking about that different type of content. But I'm going to create the bucket. And whenever I say bucket, it's basically a topic that you can just fill it, right? It's a category that you can just fill it with lots of different things that you can post about. Okay. And keep it simple. Yes. I love that, Heidi, wrote that. So now that you guys have some great ideas, right, for some different content, buckets that you can really hone in on, we're going to now dig into how you can come up with individual ideas of things that you can talk about within those categories and those buckets. Okay. So I've been teaching this for a long, long time, guys. And now that we have the ability, right, to use AI, we have the ability to streamline some things. I obviously wanted to make sure to share, right, some different tips that you can do, within that realm. So if we're going to start first, right, with our zone of genius, our area of expertise, what you can do, and if this is, obviously you using AI would be ChatGPT, you can type into the prompt, give me 10 content ideas I can post about, insert your zone of genius. So I use the example of LinkedIn and it came up with all these different ideas. Okay, so you can see right there, it gave me a bunch of different ideas and things that, obviously Scott can talk about as an expert in LinkedIn. Now, I'm not saying you're going to use every single one or whatever, but it's giving you some suggestions. Now, if you don't, use AI, that's absolutely fine. But that's a prompt that really kind of gets the gears going. Then you want to hone in on your content bucket. So I typed in there next, I said, give me 3 to 5 subcategories I can talk about under, right, your zone of genius category. So in there, it gave me for LinkedIn, right, a few different content buckets. So one would be LinkedIn profile optimization, networking and connecting, content creation and sharing, LinkedIn groups and communities, right? Different ways, right, that Scott could actually break out his content.
Now, how many of you are using an AI tool or, kind of delving into a little bit of ChatGPT for some prompts? Just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Yeah. And again, Nancy and I have completely leaned into it for the idea of exactly what she's sharing with you, the fact that you can use it for idea prompts, because again, our brains are only capable of thinking of so much at one time. So when you can go on the Chat GPT and create a flow for yourself to get some content ideas where you're bringing your own verbiage, your own thoughts, your own ideas based off of that cue or that prompt, you're never going to run out of things to talk about.
Absolutely. And if you guys have no experience with AI at all, I invite you to actually share that in our Facebook group so we can have more conversation, obviously offline during this workshop as well. I'm happy to give you guys the resources, right? And what I'm referring to is free, right? It's not like you've got to pay a bunch of money to be a part of something. It's completely free. So definitely make sure that you use the Facebook group for some of this conversation. And, maybe you guys who are using ChatGPT, if you have some prompts that you absolutely love or some tips that have really helped you, right? We're a community. We want to share that. But I can't stress this enough. And actually, Scott did a really great interview with a person. He was actually a guy who has his PhD in AI. And I remember him saying in the episode, he was like, treat it like a sandwich, right? A Sammy. He said, you are the meat in the middle. It's the buns, right? It's going to give you a framework. It's going to give you some ideas. It's going to definitely, be supporting you, but it's not going to be the content completely. So what we want to do is make sure that you still create current and value-added content. Don't be generic, right? Add current stuff, right? Facts, statistics, figures when able. Be you, okay? In fact, again, going back to Andy Crestodina, I just love his method because he is all about really, again, you want to educate people. You want to be able to create content where people tune in because they're like, man, I'm going to go to, this person because I'm going to stop using Jeff. I keep using Jeff, but, literally I want to go to Scott to learn LinkedIn. I want to go to Beth to learn this. I want to go to Daniel to learn this. I want to go to Robert to learn that, right? We want to obviously be a great resource for people. So you being the meat in the middle, it's sharing your personal experience. It's doing that personal research. It's sharing your personal expertise, right? Your story, your journey, how you personally do things, and then updating things with facts and figures. Okay. Because even AI, right? It's absolutely amazing. But it's not really entirely up to date. Right. Yep. And Mike shared in there, remember the database is only through 2021. It's 100% true. So the thing is we really need to make sure that we're still, right, not just taking the back seat. You guys have a lot more of a streamlined and a wonderful way to speed things up, but you still got to give that little extra value. So focusing first on creating content that will provide value is huge. Okay. And I also wanted to share this, that you get special bonus points if the reader of your content can do something. Can they do something? And what I mean by that is actionable steps, tools, content to solve their problem, right? After they read your post. In fact, Scott does this all the time. He is a perfect, showcase, a perfect person to show and take a look at his content because he goes on and he gives people every single week, right? The updates of what's going on with LinkedIn. Right? You know how to use it. Hey, you want to learn how to do newsletters? Go check out Scott's content. Learn something, right? It should help your reader learn something. Provide supporting evidence, facts, research, input, your experience. I can share things because I've worked with so many different clients and I can share my point of view, and that's something that only I can do. It should also help, or it can help them feel something. By sharing your voice, your perspective, your opinions, it can trigger emotion. Does it make you laugh? Does it make you think about things? Does it make you reflect? I mean, the content that I shared, earlier was, just, it really impacted me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know him, he was sharing something that really made me feel, a certain way. So if you guys can just make sure to mute, I think we got a little bit of, All right. Can you guys hear me? I think I was muted for a second as well.
You're good.
All right. Perfect. All right. So now that we're kind of through the AI, okay, you guys know how you can use it to just, again, come up with lots of different content topics and ideas. Another simple way that you can stay super up to date is good old fashioned Google. Okay. And this isn't rocket science. It's going onto Google and just typing whatever it is, right? Whatever the content focus is. And then the word trends. Okay. So an example, social media trends 2023. Okay. That's giving me ideas, right? That in and of itself could be, right, an entirely educational post where I could say, hey, here's top 10 social media trends to follow in 2023. And you could add your, obviously your spin on it. The other thing that you can do is take a look at creators in your space. And I really stress this for people who, maybe you don't have that really easy cookie cutter business. Maybe you're a mindset coach. Maybe you're someone who's simply sharing their personal journey, and really wanting to get you and your journey out there. And you want to work with people, in a certain way and capacity. Check out creators in your space. Check out other people who might be doing something similar. Even if it's not exactly in your space, look at people who are creating content that you really resonate with. And the reason why I say this, and it's a great weekly or monthly routine. In fact, I say throw it on your calendar just as like a reoccurring thing, because a lot of times, right, these people are paying tens of thousands of dollars, to marketing agencies to do this research and this work up front. And if they have the same audience as you, guys, again, we're getting inspiration. You're being able to tap into this stuff that's already available. And chances are, if it really resonates with you, and if it's something that really hits home, chances are it's going to hit home with your audience. And you can do this simply by really focusing on, what platform do you mainly want to focus on? Okay. So just because we say, okay, we're going to post content on social media doesn't mean that you've got to be posting on every single one that exists out there. Don't do that, right? That's the other thing to give yourself grace, and why we want to keep this simple. Pick one platform to really focus on. And so you can find these people, okay? Because I know there's a question in the chat there about finding people. Go to the platform that you're going to really show up on, that your audience is on, that you want to be on, and you can search for them. So let's say it's LinkedIn, for example. So let's say it's other LinkedIn experts. Scott could go in there, and in his search, he could type LinkedIn expert, or he can type in LinkedIn coach, LinkedIn consultant, and he can search for other people. And I can guarantee you there will be a handful of people that pop up. If you're really going to focus on Instagram or Facebook, same thing, right? You can go into the search and you can type things in. If you're really unfamiliar, another thing that you can do is take a look at podcasts. So if you guys can drop a Y or a yes in the chat box, are you guys familiar with what a podcast is? Do you guys listen to podcasts? Please drop a Y or a yes in the chat box. Every single morning, I listen to a podcast as I get ready in the morning. I have a little Bluetooth speaker that I connect to my phone. I turn it on and I listen to a podcast, and I listen to a podcast that is in my industry. And the reason why I do this, guys, it's like I learn every single morning. I stay up to date. I'm in the loop. And then I usually listen to it. And I have a notes app on my phone, right? It's just like the little notes. I have an iPhone, so I just go in there and I'll say content. And it's got a little colon. And then I'll put whatever the topic is, and I'll jot down some key points. And then I provide my take on it if it's something that I want to talk on. But podcasts are a great way to go searching for your industry and to take a look at what they're posting, right? I listen to a lot of personal branding podcasts. Why? Because these people are experts as well, right? They're in the space, they're living, eating, and breathing it, and they're coming up with some pretty awesome content. And so if it's a topic that my audience cares about, I want to make sure I'm talking about it too. The next thing is I want you guys to get just very simple, okay? And I know we only have a few minutes left, so I'm really coming down the home stretch here. I want you guys to really hone in and focus on the basics. Is what are the problems that your audience has as it relates to what you do? And what are the answers to those problems? And how can you help? Right? If someone's struggling to pick out a new refrigerator, and that's something that you help people do, what are some of the answers? How to shop for some of the best, top 10 tips when shopping for a refrigerator, why energy efficient refrigerators are the way to go, right? Like you can just literally keep pumping out solutions probably all day long, but start to just think about, right, what some of the typical problems are. Financial advisors, health insurance brokers. In fact, I work with a ton of health insurance brokers. There are tons of problems that companies and CEOs and HRs have when it comes to employee benefits and things like that. Think about the problems that they go through. What are some topics that you can talk about? So again, our goal is to help you never run out of good content, right? This has been our mission. And, of course, our social posting platform, right? We have a social media scheduling platform called BYB Social. We made it a mission to make sure that no one runs out of content ideas, right? We do like a monthly co-working session. Charlize, our copywriter, knows the goal is that you guys always know and have topics to post about. And I don't want you guys to overcomplicate this, okay? Let's keep it very simple. Now, Andy Crestodina, who I mentioned before, who again, he's been in the marketing space for a very, a long time, even before 2000 actually, but he's helped so many people really get results online. And he's huge influencer. In fact, he was the one who originally came up with email marketing and sequences and everything. I mean, he really is so foundational in a lot of that. So I actually took some ideas that Andy had. He has this amazing method called the content chemistry. And in your workbook, right, as a little bonus for you guys, I broke down some of these questions in different ways, and you can use them for your business. Okay. So in your workbook, in that bonus section, it's going to break down some questions that you can use to teach your reader something, tell them stories, ways that you can use interviews and roundups to really showcase your expertise, establish yourself as a thought leader, and more. Okay. So again, these are kind of some hacks that all you got to do is use the prompts and you guys can come up with some content right from there. So that brings us in again, guys, we have about 5 minutes left. And yes, someone asked the workbook. So the workbook has been sent out. That'll actually be in the email reminders every day, guys, and then also in the replay. The workbook did go out, but please keep in mind, even if you didn't print out the workbook or you don't have it, all you need to do for your homework today, okay, is I want you to choose 4 content topics, right? And specifically, right, I want it to be stuff that you can teach someone or educational. Maybe you're answering a problem. It's going to be 4 educational content topic ideas. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to break that out for the month of August so that, again, you guys have content and topics to post. Okay. And just to give you an example, just to clarify, that could be something like 3 tips on how to grow on LinkedIn, right? 10 ways to break down your content and repurpose it. I know someone talked about, earlier, I think Carol mentioned, anxiety. It could be, under the whole bucket of that, it could be, 3 signs of, XYZ, or 3 ways, 3 exercises you can do, to help with anxiety. So I want you to pick 4 different content topics, and we're going to really break this down. And like I said, we're going to take it on a trip throughout the week, and you guys are going to get a workflow of step by step how you're going to actually use that main educational piece of content to then create little posts throughout the rest of the week that are going to give people value and help you really create that value-added content.
So if all of this has made sense so far, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. And if you're in agreement that Nancy is just an absolute rock star, just type a number 1 in the chat box, because she just brings the fire every single time. She's going to break this down so simple for you guys. I'm not saying that because I'm her husband, but it is the truth. Now, the other thing that I want everyone to understand, again, the assignment for obviously today through tomorrow, it has to be done by 12:30 EDT, 30 minutes before tomorrow, which is day number 2. You're going to come up with 5 topics within your zone of genius, just like we talked about. 4, just like we talked about earlier. So for me, using me as an example, LinkedIn is my zone of genius. It could be LinkedIn messaging, LinkedIn community building, LinkedIn features, and LinkedIn network growth, something like that. So again, those are the examples. There's going to be a homework thread pinned to the top of the Facebook group. It's going to say Nancy's Day 1 homework thread. Drop your 4 content buckets below, and you just type them in. You have all day today and most of tomorrow up until 12:30 to do that. As Nancy mentioned, there will be a replay email going out tomorrow morning that will also have a copy of the workbook and the replay page of where you can watch that. It will also be in the Facebook group. So again, if you have not yet joined the Facebook group and you're on Facebook, I just dropped the link in the chat. Click on it, choose to join. Again, it's going to have some extra stuff in there, announcements, this, that, or the other. And also, we would love to hear from you right now before we jump off. What was the biggest needle mover for you from today's day 1? So again, what was that big thing that you're like, man, that is what I needed to hear. This is what's going to help me move forward. So again, all AI tips. Yep. Content buckets, having a system for finding content. Good Facebook group. Yes. So if you're pending, everyone's going to be approved. The buckets, AI tips, content buckets. Awesome. So Nance, what's the preview for day 2? What are we going over tomorrow?
Yeah. So for day 2, like I said, in the spirit of keeping things very simple, I even used a car as the example. We're going to cruise through, right, with the different topics that you guys have created. We're moving into now how to put that into a workflow and how you can really create content simply and cut your content creation time in half. I mean, it's going to make it so simple, right? So gone are the days that we really sat there, we overthought things, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. I'm going to give you guys a workflow of how you can really streamline that process. And you guys are going to see me do it, right? I'm going to actually take you through one of my own topics. And from start to finish, I'm going to create the content. I'm going to actually create the graphic for the content. And then obviously I'll have the finished and ready to go piece there. So you guys are going to look over my shoulder and you'll be able to see. But like I said, we're going to keep it simple. Definitely make sure you guys show up for all 3 days. And obviously, again, we got that bonus Q&A session on day 4 because this is all right, the framework. You guys are going to walk away. You'll know exactly what to do. And at the end of this, you're also going to have a month's worth of content, right, that you're going to be able to have available to use for August. So definitely all about action.
And one final thing, I just dropped an email address in the chat for all of you guys. That's my private email. It's support@scottaaron.net. So if any of you want to pre-submit questions for Thursday's Q&A, just use that private support email. They'll be in a separate email for me. That way I can go through all of them when we spend that time together on the 60 minutes of Q&A. So everyone, we hope you enjoyed day number 1. Looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. EDT. Love and gratitude, and we'll see everybody then. And Nancy, you
sorry, just the last thing I was going to say, please share in the Facebook group. If you guys have questions, if you're stuck, anything, right? We are here to support, right? No one left behind. We're going to make sure that you guys have plenty of content topics and you know what you're going to create your content on. Okay.
And with that, we will see everybody